There's an insect in this garden that all gardeners loathe: aphids. They've made enemies of gardeners, but in the undergrowth they have friends: ants. Ants herd aphids to the best possible feeding places, just as human shepherds will herd their sheep to the best pastures. And just as shepherds protect their flocks against wolves, so ants protect the aphids against their insect enemies. Ladybirds are among the most dangerous. They, after all, eat aphids, so the ants must get rid of them. That's not easy. It's quite hard to get a grip on the polished shell of a ladybird. But eventually, success. Aphids excrete a liquid that ants relish: honeydew. That's why ants protect them. Such close relationships are frequent among insects, perhaps because they've had so long to develop them. They appeared on land, after all, about 100 million years before any backboned animal. And they can also evolve much faster because they can produce several generations within a single year. So perhaps it's not surprising that they have developed relationships between one another of a complexity that blows the mind. These associations extend not only to other insects, but to plants. They were established at a very early period. Plants are the basis of all life, for only they can combine minerals in the ground with gases from the air and produce something worth eating. Insects, however, not only eat them, they also exploit them in much more devious ways. Tropical rainforests are famous for being thick, tangled masses of vegetation. But in this one in Peru, there are mysterious clearings where only one or at the most two kinds of trees will grow. The local people call such places as this devil's gardens and believe that spirits kill other kinds of trees. And the real killers of those trees, well, they've only just been discovered. The leaves of the surviving trees all have these swellings on their stems, and going in and out are armies of tiny, tiny ants. The swellings are their homes, specially developed for them by the tree, and in them, safe from predators, the ants keep their eggs and larvae. They even keep domestic livestock, white scale insects which, like aphids, supply the ants with drinks of honeydew. Producing this accommodation also benefits the tree, for the ants provide their landlord with a valuable service. They guard it against its enemies. All kinds of insects will eat a plant's leaves given the chance. But they don't get a chance. Not on this tree. So the caterpillar goes elsewhere. This is a more formidable leaf muncher, a kind of giant grasshopper several thousand times bigger than any individual ant. That's not so easy to shift. But it does have a weak spot. If you can say that any insect has a heel, then this one has an Achilles heel. And the ants seem to know it. Enough is enough. The ants not only repel their host's animal enemies, they also, perhaps more remarkably, keep competing plants at bay. A squad of them leaves the barracks and sets out on one of their regular patrols of the neighbourhood. They found a newly sprouted sapling. Perhaps it's grown from one of their landlord's seeds, in which case, all well and good. But this one hasn't. It's an intruder. They go into action, biting its stems. Reinforcements arrive. Hundreds of tiny jaws cut into its stems. The sapling begins to wilt. But bites alone are not enough for the ants to achieve their ends. They lift their abdomens and inject formic acid into the crippled plant's wounds. The poison spreads through the plant's tissues, hastening its death. And within a few days of being comprehensively stung, all these plants are dead. And the ants, or the devils, have extended their garden still further. But the benefit of this drastic gardening, of course, is not restricted to the plants. The ants also profit. They have ensured that their plant landlord can extend its territory without competition, and that provides them with more homes, so they too can increase their numbers.